So, James, when did you get into filmmaking?
Wow, that was a long time ago. And it's a tricky question because
How did you get into filmmaking? Is that a better question?
yes, that's a
Okay.
better question. So how I got into filmmaking, I remember I used to always go and rent like a couple of videos from Blockbuster with my nan, and I used to just be in awe with these films and just like, wow, how did they make that? It was mostly Jurassic Park. I was always in awe with how they managed to get dinosaurs there, but obviously as I grew up, I realized the dinosaurs were robotic. And then
Magic.
yeah. Um, and I remember my granddad showing me like a video camera because he used to record like a lot of my brother's races. And I just sat there and I thought, I'm gonna pinch his camera and make a couple of daft films with my friends. And that was kind of it, really. As soon as I got that bug, I was
How
just
old
into
were you
it.
at that point?
7.
7.
Yeah.
So, who were your friends that you were making films with?
They were Tim and Sean back in Pickering. And I used to drag them out into all kind of locations and just be like, right, well, today we're going to be knights in shining armor and he's all wizards. And then other days we're just like, you know.
Were you always the director, or did you take turns doing different things?
I usually went in I was usually a character in the film, but I always made sure that I wasn't the lead character. I always made sure like one of my friends was the lead character because I wanted to make sure that I could do all the cool camera shots and make it all kind of flow together.
Yeah.
So I was always like the minimum character. We wanted to have this cool kind of action film when we were younger. And my friend said, wouldn't it be cool if we kind of broke into that Mercedes garage, which has been abandoned, and just made like a really gritty action film? And I was like, yeah, that would be cool. we should do that. And then, as you guessed, we actually did do that. Broke in there. Well, sorry about that, guys.
So, where did you go from there? Obviously, from that kind of experience as a child, how did you get from there to making films now?
Well, I'd never really lost the passion. I was always really interested in it. And it was when it came to our GCSEs, and we had to choose courses, and we had to pick, like lessons. I picked media, obviously, because I was like, well, I love doing it. This is so much fun, and I want to make sure if I'm going to be doing these, subjects, I want to have as much fun as I can with these subjects. And it was my media teacher, Mr. Wilcock, who helped me out massively, not only in just media, but in English, maths, because the teachers didn't quite get me with being dyslexic, so they always put me down and predicted me nothing but U's. So it was just like, straight off, you're going to fail. But Mr. Wilcock kind of sat down and he said, I know that you know it because I can see in classes, I can see it on your film work. We just need to figure out how we can sort of get that from your mind onto paper.
Were there any particular techniques or anything that he used which you found really helpful, or was it just a way that he took the time to explain things that other people hadn't explained?
It was definitely the way he took the time to explain things. But one of the things that I actually started to realize when he was teaching me was that I was a really visual learner. So where like one teacher would be like, this is that is this, it just works like that. Like I decided to change my mind, or I started to think in a different way. So I started to actually visualize like scenarios or just like scenes and sort of put the pieces together essentially. And that's how he sort of taught me to learn.
So tell me about the next stage then. So you left school. Did you go to college, or?
I did go to college, yeah.
Did you study film? Or?
I did. I studied film and performing arts. I was originally going to do sport, but I'd been doing sport for nearly 6 years of my life, like intensely. And I just kind of went, well, I don't enjoy the sports side as much as I enjoy the the media, the creating, the acting side. But maybe there's a way I can take that hard work, grit and determination that I put into training, and I can just transfer it into the filmmaking and acting aspect to kind of, if I can learn anything from life, that would be a cool transition.
What sports were you doing?
I used to do 400 meters, so I was a 400-meter runner. Mm-hmm. Wow, it hurts, believe me. You're on the last 50 meters and you're just sweating blood and tears.
Sweating blood. So sport seems to be a theme which has continued on through your work, so I guess it's nice that you've kept that on.
Yeah, it's kind of like my roots. It was the first realization of like hard work and training can actually get you somewhere. So it's nice to kind of still keep that in because it's like human nature. When people are passionate about something, they seem to go to mad extremes for that length. That's one of the things that I wanted to do in my Strongman documentary when I ended up traveling around Eastern Europe. And it was one topic we wanted to kind of look at on one side, but unfortunately the film kind of didn't cover that because creative disagreements, I guess, with the person I was working with.
Okay.
So they had one idea of what it should be like, and when you obviously kind of mentioned what idea it could possibly come across, just a bit of creative differences.
Yeah.
In
I
a
suppose
sense.
that's a good thing, though, that you kind of go through that, because that's going to happen at several points in life. It's a good
Yeah.
experience to be able to negotiate that.
God, yeah, definitely. Like, because you end up sitting there and you just go, why didn't I voice myself a bit louder? Why did I maybe why did I crumble down a little bit? Maybe I should have been like, no, if I just stood my ground a bit more, he might have backed down. Or
So how did that project come about?
project came about when I was in Leeds, so it was just after the university. So as soon as I finished university, I was in the same boat as anyone else. I was like, oh God, what do I do? I've got a paper that says I've passed. I'm set off into the world, and I was given this opportunity to pretend to be press, sneak onto the Strongman European event, and do a bit of like filming behind the scenes. Amazingly, no one caught on, and then we made this film, and then cheekily we just kind of went, so we kind of snuck on and did this film. What do you think? And the guy looked at it and just went,
Who's the guy?
He was the connection between the television broadcasting and also the actual organization of Strongman. He kind of just said, well, how would you guys like to work with officialstrongman.com and do a couple of webisodes while you're traveling around?
So what have you been working on recently?
Well, recently I've been working on my short film, Dancing in the Dark. It's a short sci-fi romance because sci-fi is cool.
Have you written it yourself?
I have, yes, I've written it myself.
What's it about, loosely?
It's about this idea of everlasting energy. When it comes to us as people, as humans, there's one thing that separates us, that we think that separates us from animals, is we're aware of time. And that's fascinating. I've always been fascinated by that, how we're always aware that there is an end. And then when you look at other animals, you just think you're oblivious to that. You're just enjoying that tennis ball and running around in circles chasing other dogs.
Which would you prefer?
To be aware of time. I think it's good to be aware of time. I think it's like a progression of evolution in life in itself. It's kind of like slowly realizing the self, or whatever that be. But we're getting off topic.
So the story's told through the medium of a relationship. Is that right?
So yeah, it follows two characters. It follows Tom and it follows Wendy. And basically, Tom is at the end of his life. He's got lung cancer. He's dying, but rather than the couple being quite morbid about it, you see that they're having this light, bubbly kind of personality. It's almost like they first met each other. So they're appreciating the time that they still have together. And that was what was inspired from my grandparents, is that characteristics. It's the fact that, they don't seem to have that worry. They very much enjoy their own companionship and almost treat every day like it was the first, or have like a bit of a childish amusement. And keep it light and bubbly. And I thought that's really nice in a character. So I wanted to portray that in the characters. And then when it comes to towards like the final part of the film, which is the Dancing in the Dark bit, that's where it goes to like the philosophical side and question side. So it's whether it is just like this universal energy, which is completely being cycled round, and like stories told in multiple billions of ways, or whether it's just a dream, which is why we kind of created these cool morph suits with glow-in-the-dark paints. We created this stage with lights, like the UV lighting, so that it would reflect the color to kind of capture a dreamlike state. But at the same time, we're playing around with some special effects to put stars in the middle of them and around them. So it's almost like there are dancing in the universe.
So where do your ideas and inspiration come from?
It's a tricky one to always ask that about a creative idea. It's so hard, isn't it? It's if you try to go and search for it, if you try to look for it, I don't think you'll ever find it. But if you just kind of like, the best way I can explain this is a video I watched on No Film School. It was like a little guy in his boat, and he's on all of these different like these oceans or rivers. And he says something. He went on the line and says, sometimes if you're wanting an idea, it's not best to keep fishing in the same place. Sometimes it's best to kind of like pick up your sail off, and maybe go search for your next idea, be it through listening to a conversation, so like from dialogue. Maybe someone might trigger something from like dialogue that was said. Bumping into a character, so bumping into a certain person, getting to know them. Maybe your story might come from that. It could be a location. You could go to a location. You could sit there and be like, "Wow, I wonder what kind of happened here," and play with the ideas until something comes up that you really like, and then you're drawn to it. The best advice I've been able to give though was from this book, this filmmaker's book I read. It was called The Filmmaker's Intuition, and it basically says that once you do have this idea, rather than like rush into straight away write it, make a note of it. Wait for a couple of weeks, and if it's still fresh in your mind, and you're still roaring to go and be like, yeah, I really want to make that, then that's when you know that you've got something that you're very passionate about. Because once that time's gone, once that like hype of having this idea has gone down, or having a multiple of ideas, you kind of whittle it down to one, and then you know that one stands out above them all because you can't stop thinking about it.
So tell me about collaboration then, because obviously that's something that's key in filmmaking. But what's your process? How do you find the right people?
I enjoy finding the right people based off their passion and their drive in their work. I remember working with it was the challenge that I had when it came to the costume designs. See, I had loads of people who were interested in like the idea and the costume design and making it, but at the end of it, out of all of these people, there was only one person that stood out, and that's simply because she was so passionate about it that she kept coming to me with like these ideas and how to do it and how this and how that. Whereas the other ones just went, oh yeah, just send me the details, I'll do it. And then when you did, they never responded back, and that was strange. That was kind of like, wow, okay. But yeah, I tend to find that when it comes to collaborating with people, if they share like a similar drive and a passion to to push in their like talent or their industry, then you're kind of on the same wavelength, because you have that passion that you can bounce off, you have that kind of drive that you can work towards, and so they're just as understanding as you are, and then you have that honesty and you build it up, and then the next thing you know, you've got a really strong team who you feel comfortable with sharing ideas, and they feel comfortable opening, maybe saying, I don't think this could work, I personally think this might work. And then you've got something,
And how do you go about finding these people on a very practical level?
Mostly it's just been Facebook, like advertisements, or just
public, or do you have your own network which you've kind of curated?
I've just got my page. That's kind of how I go about it. I put it on my page. Someone will recommend me getting in contact with somebody, and I end up just messaging them, getting in contact with them, just having a bit of a chat.
Are they mostly local people based in York, or do people travel a lot?
There's mostly based in York and Leeds, so it's been a York and Leeds kind of like collaboration.
So if people want to see some of your work, where's the best place for them to do that?
Best place is YouTube. You can see bits and bobs on YouTube. I've not got much at the moment because I had a bit of a revamp, but there'll be a lot more work going on there because I plan to do super short films, which are like just a minute long, for like Facebook as well, because I think that'd be quite good too.
What do they search to find that?
So you just need to search James Book and then you'll find me.
And what's the best way to contact you if someone wants to just ask you advice on something?
Best way to get in touch with me is definitely Facebook. So just type in my name, and if people want to message me, talk to me, if they share the same passion for filmmaking and maybe want some help or want to be a part of something, then just message away. It'd be great.
You happy for us to share the link in the description?
Yeah, I'm happy for you to share the link in the description. Super.
Cool. Well, thank you for being on the podcast.
No worries. Thank you.